Welcome to the first rendition of Fanpick, where the character chosen is done so by you, the viewers. In my video for Amaterasu, I stated that following the video on Doomslayer, the next character was going to be up to viewer choice. I got a decent variety of requests, from well-known Nintendo characters to third-party, but one name in particular stuck out. One that I'd become rather well acquainted with in past months by not only beating his game live on stream, but also because of his appearance in another platform fighter that I've been obsessed with over the past month. That character is Ori, from Ori and the Blind Forest. This character is rather interesting, as while I feel there's a lot to work with when designing a moveset for him, he kind of already has one in Rivals of Aether. While I really like the way he was designed in said game, I definitely think there's enough room to change things around and come up with something completely unique, while respecting both said incarnation and the source material. So let's not waste any more time. This is Ori for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, suggested by SteelT13. Ori is a character that excels at staying in close to his opponents and dealing a ton of damage, as to be expected of a rushdown character. When he's in, he'll be hard to get out, but Ori is a character that can't take much punishment before he's KO'd. While a lot of his attacks are short range, his companion Sein can help tank hits, extend his range, and overall make him a terrifying opponent to fight one-on-one. Ori is a tiny little thing in his home franchise, probably standing no more than a foot tall. As that's the case, I imagine he'd end up being around the same size as Pikachu and Olimar. His jumps are a standard 2 jumps from Ori and the Blind Forest, while his roll will more than likely be similar to the one he has in Rivals of Aether. The way Ori would carry objects would also more than likely be similar to how he carries both light and heavy objects in said game as well, and I feel as if it's only fitting that he holds all items with both hands, much like he does in his home game. As for Sein, I imagine she'd be slightly larger than that of a Pokeball, constantly hovering right over Ori's shoulder like she does in the actual Ori titles. Speaking of Sein, she also doubles as Ori's character gimmick. Being Ori's protector, it's no surprise that she's by his side at almost all times, even being integral to a good amount of Ori's attacks. The main use Sein provides is giving Ori's attacks more power and range, as both Ori and Sein hit for different damage, much like your typical puppet character would, as seen through both Rosalina and the Ice Climbers. However, instead of being her own character with her own hurtbox, Sein's main use is more of a disjointed hitbox than anything else, as she doesn't take her own damage. This interpretation of Ori and Sein is more about the synergy between the two characters and how well they'd be able to fight together at the same time, as opposed to the strange delay system seen in Rivals of Aether. Instead, Sein has an energy meter that will display above Ori's health bar, its appearance a lot like that of the energy bar seen when playing Ori in the Blind Forest. This is the source of Sein's power, and once it hits 0, she'll gray out and be forced to recharge, limiting Ori's resources and abilities for a short while. When the two of them are moving as one, Sein's gauge will recharge faster, but when separated, it'll recharge at a slower pace to encourage switching playstyles. How does Sein get separated from Ori? I'll get to that in Ori's specials, so for now, let's talk about his normals. Ori's normals consist of a variety of attacks using various parts of his body, be it punches, his kicks, or, more prominently, his long tail. On top of these sort of attacks, he'll also use the spirit flames provided by Sein, along with her charge flames for his more powerful attacks. Jab combo is a basic punch-punch-kick combo, much like that of his jab combo from Rivals of Aether. Forward tilt, up tilt, and down tilt are all attacks that use Ori's tail as the main weapon, featuring him whipping out his tail in front of him, backflipping to attack with his tail above him, and performing a sliding double kick using both his feet and tail. Dash attack is Ori's air dash ability from his home franchise, allowing him to quickly bolt through the air and smash through any opponent in his way. This attack covers a really good amount of range, but it may leave Ori wide open should his opponent dodge the attack. For his get-up attacks, Ori will spin around, kicking on either side of him as Sein attacks in the opposite direction he kicks, while his ledge attack will feature Ori flipping onto the stage and performing a downward kick. All of Ori's smash attacks take advantage of Sein's charge flame ability, which is a powerful burst of energy that Sein could perform in both his home franchise and in Rivals of Aether. Compared to its appearance in Rivals, these charge flames are roughly 3 times as strong and deal over twice the amount of knockback. Forward smash will have Ori thrust out both arms in front of him, much like he's performing a HADOKEN. With Sein centered in his hands, Sein will release a powerful explosion of energy in order to launch opponents away. This attack is very strong, but it will also use up part of Sein's energy gauge. Both of Ori's other smash attacks will also use up part of her energy gauge. When Sein isn't active, Ori will simply thrust his hands forward as he would before, the force of his blow pushing opponents back. Up smash will have Ori perform a rising motion with his hand, Sein pushing the opponent up off the floor and up into the air before releasing her charge flame attack, launching the opponent upward. Without Sein, Ori will simply perform his rising motion, which will cause about as much damage as his tilts. Finally, down smash will have Ori attack on one side while Sein releases a charge flame on the other, the two of them hitting on each side at least once apiece. When Sein isn't active, Ori will be the only one attacking. Ori's aerials are mostly made up of kick and tail attacks, all while Sein adds some extra range to his rather short-range moves. Neutral air will have Ori spin around in mid-air, using his arms to smack on both sides of him. With Sein active, she'll also spin around Ori, adding in extra range as well as extra damage. Forward air is a move that is best used with Sein active. Ori will thrust both hands down over his head, Sein dropping like a pendulum down onto any opponent below her. Those hit by Sein during this attack will be spiked, making it a forward air spike much like the ones used by both Mario and Yoshi. If Sein isn't active, Ori is still capable of spiking with his own hit, but the knockback is much weaker, being around the level of Isabelle's down air. Up air will have Ori flip backwards, hitting the opponent with his tail. This mimics his up air seen in Rivals of Aether and can also be used to juggle just like it can in said game. Back air is a reference to Ori's triple jump from his home franchise, an upgrade you can get in order to gain an extra jump in the air. Ori will push both his feet out behind him, the force releasing a wave of energy that will fly backwards and push Ori forwards. This move counts as both a physical and projectile attack, and can be comboed together if the opponent is close enough to Ori when he initiates it. Down air is Stomp, one of Ori's abilities from his home game. With this attack, Ori will fly straight down until he hits either an opponent or the ground, spiking any opponent he hits on the way down and creating a shockwave once he hits the floor, dealing extra damage to anyone around him during the attack. Ori will grab his opponent using both his hands, all while headbutting them for his pummel. It's a slow pummel, but it deals decent damage. Ori's throws are powerful, yet they all rely on Sein to be fully effective. When Sein is either deactivated or away from Ori, his throws will become drastically weaker, with each throw having a different animation and damage output depending on whether Sein is with Ori or not. Forward throw will have Sein ram into Ori's opponent, allowing for him to dropkick his opponent in the face in order to launch the opponent away. With Sein gone, Ori will attempt to dropkick and fall just a bit short, dealing minor damage and pushing the opponent backwards. Up throw will have Ori toss his opponent up into the air before they're rammed by Sein. Sein will then release a small burst of spirit energy to push the opponent upward. With Sein gone, Ori will simply toss his opponent upward, acting like a weaker version of Marth's up throw. Back throw will have Ori toss his opponent behind him, Sein rushing out in front of them as she pushes them back towards Ori, who will then perform a dropkick to send the opponent flying away. With Sein gone, Ori will simply toss his opponent behind him, the throw not covering much range. Finally, down throw will have Sein fall down on the opponent's head before Ori jumps on top of them, jumping on them twice before leaping off, bouncing them off the floor and up into the air. With Sein gone, Ori will simply jump on top of the opponent and push them into the floor, causing a hard knockdown with no knockback whatsoever. Ori's specials are all based on abilities he utilized during his adventure in Ori and the Blind Forest. Standard special is Bash, Ori's most iconic move and one that was actually designated as Ori's down special in Rivals of Aether. When this move is activated with no targets in sight, Ori will simply perform a backflip, his body surrounded by a glowing yellow aura. Ori is capable of moving either backwards or forwards while the flip is active, allowing him to move toward the target should he see it coming. When this move comes into contact with either an opponent or a projectile, both of them will flash white while an arrow appears around them. This arrow indicates the direction that Ori will fly, and by extension, is the opposite direction that either said projectile or opponent will fly. Releasing the B button will have Ori jet off in said direction, all while launching whatever he caught in the opposite direction with heavy amounts of force. This move can be used both in the air and on the ground, and should Ori reflect a projectile using this ability, it'll fly in said determined direction at roughly twice the speed. Be careful though, as while the opponent Ori trapped is unable to break out of said move, Ori can be hit by other opponents should it be a free-for-all or team battle. As a result, this move is much stronger during one-on-one fights. Side special is Light Burst, a multi-use projectile attack. Ori will throw out an orb of pure light, the angle in which he throws dependent on how the input is done. If the B button is pushed while holding forward, Ori will throw the orb at a curved angle through the air. But inputting the move like a smash attack will have him whip it forward like he's throwing a baseball, the move traveling in more of a straight line and at a much higher rate of speed. However, should the player hold down the B button, Sein will float to Ori's hand, and instead of tossing out a ball of light, Ori will toss out Sein instead. Sein will deal damage to anyone she hits, and once she lands, Sein will become like that of a turret, attacking separately from Ori with her own limited pool of attacks. Pressing the A button rapidly will have Sein throw out spirit flames at her closest opponent, the flames capable of hitting up to 2 targets at once, and by holding the B button, Sein can release a charge flame, much like she does during Ori's smash attacks. When in this state, Sein's energy gauge will replenish at half the speed it would should she be with Ori, and once her energy is fully depleted, she'll instantly return to Ori and begin to recharge. Ori is capable of calling Sein back to his side by inputting side B again, which will deal damage to any opponent she passes through on her way back. Ori is fully capable of moving around and attacking while Sein is away from him as well, but as previously stated, a majority of his moves will be nerfed in some way or another. Up Special is a combination of 2 moves, featuring both Charge Jump and Kuro's Feather. By pressing up and B, Ori will take a moment to charge up energy, all before flying up through the air in a burst of speed. Once he reaches the peak of the jump, he'll deploy Kuro's Feather, allowing him to move around horizontally in order to maneuver around opponents or make it back to the stage. This special is capable of being performed while Ori is clinging to a wall as well, just like in Ori and the Blind Forest. Down Special is Spirit Link, a move unlike anything ever seen in Smash Bros. Before. With this move, Ori will channel energy through his hand onto a specific part on the floor, said area glowing like a bright blue flame once the channeling has finished. In Ori and the Blind Forest, Spirit Links was the way the players saved their game, and while you could save almost anywhere, it required resources in order to use. Here in Smash, Spirit Link works a tad differently. Depending on how much energy you pour into the Spirit Link, it will last anywhere from 4 to 10 seconds, the minimum cast requirement being half a bar's worth of energy. Why is this so valuable? Well, because should Ori be KO'd while the Spirit Link is active, he will come back to life without either losing a point in tied matches or losing a stock in stock matches. This can dramatically increase Ori's survivability should it be used properly, on top of dramatically cutting it down should you use said move poorly, as if you fail to time your Spirit Link correctly and waste your energy, you're not only down said energy, but also Sein as well, and if the energy gauge hits 0, it is forced to recharge to 100% before Sein and all energy-based abilities are usable again. This is, for the most part, an all or nothing ability, and is one that will take some time to master. However, should one master their energy management and get this ability down pat, I imagine they'd be far more terrifying than any Smash 4 Bayonetta ever was. And it's what's more terrifying than something you can't kill. It's like fighting Gil in Street Fighter 3, only instead of Gil, it's an adorable little cat creature and his ball of death. Finally, Ori's final smash is Hunter of the Light, featuring Kuro, the main villain of Ori and the Blind Forest. Ori will start this attack by performing a quick dash attack, zooming through each opponent he hits as the cinematic final smash begins. With this, Kuro will swoop in, catching Ori in her sights and preparing an attack from afar. In a flash, Gumo, an ally character you meet along the way in Ori and the Blind Forest, will pop up from a hole on the ground, pulling Ori inside in order to give him a place to hide. While Ori is protected, his opponents are left wide open to Kuro's onslaught as she swoops in, sending all opponents flying upon contact. This final smash is like a cinematic version of the Dragoon item, and just like the Dragoon, Kuro will instantly KO any opponent she hits during the final smash. Ori's victory theme is an orchestral rendition of his victory theme from Rivals of Aether, which is taken from the song Restoring the Light, Facing the Dark from Ori and the Blind Forest. Victory pose number 1 will have Ori perform the animation that plays once he gains a new ability in Ori and the Blind Forest, having him lift off the floor and up into the air before spinning around and posing triumphantly. Victory pose number 2 is based on the teleportation animation from Ori's home title, as he will begin to glow with light, spinning rapidly before disappearing in a bright flash. Lastly, victory pose number 3 will feature Naru, cradling a tired Ori much like the cover art created for the game itself. Ori's first taunt will have him spin around before landing on his feet and posing, which is a reference to his taunt from Rivals of Aether. Ori's second taunt will have him start to nod off, all before Sein pokes him to keep him awake. Ori's third and final taunt will have Sein spin around him, Ori watching in awe before going back to his idle stance. Ori's colors are based on either important characters from his home game or the various collectibles that Ori can collect throughout said game. Color number 1 is Ori's standard white look, Sein being colored her usual bright blue. Color number 2 is based on the light of the spirit tree, which will turn Ori bright blue with glowing white eyes, with Sein glowing white. This is also a play on the fact that both Ori and Sein's names were reversed during the development of Ori and the Blind Forest, with Ori supposed to be named Sein and Sein supposed to be named Ori. Color number 3 is based on Gumo, the strange spider-like creature who befriends Ori on his journey, making Ori a navy blue with glowing orange eyes. This will also turn Sein a bright orange as well. Color number 4 is based on the colors used by the Gumon Technology, having Ori turn a bright orange while Sein remains a bright blue. Similar to the orb Ori has to carry through the ruins in order to make the technology not kill him. Color number 5 is based on Kuro, the main villain of the game. This will paint Ori a very deep purple and make his eyes a glowing white. Sein will also be colored a deep shade of purple. Finally, colors 6, 7, and 8 are all based on the 3 main collectibles Ori can obtain in his home game, changing Ori to a beige color to reference ability cells, an ocean blue to reference energy cells, and a vivid green to reference life cells. Also, when Kirby inhales Ori, he'll gain a hat that looks like that of Ori's head, and gain access to the move Bash, working identically to the way Ori uses it. And that is Ori for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the first fan-requested character I've covered and will certainly not be the last. While not as inherently popular as a lot of other indie characters, it cannot be denied that Ori's playstyle will adapt almost seamlessly into that of a platform fighter, as Rivals of Aether has already shown us. I don't think his chances of making it into Smash are super high, but if he ever did, I think a lot of people would welcome him with open arms. And hey, Ori's next game is slated for February 2020, so you never know. Keep believing, Ori fans, for while I'm not sure how many of you there are, I'm definitely one of you now. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe, as I'll have a new video up every week. Is what I'd like to say, but man, these take a lot of time to make. But hey, if you stick with me, I'll stick with you, and I've got a lot of great ideas coming in the future. Alright, take care, and have a good one.